What if the greatest threat to humanity isn't ignorance, but a quiet, stubborn refusal to see? Picture a man in a cold prison cell, scribbling truths that cut deeper than the bars around him, warning us that evil often wins not through force, but through the silence of those who choose blindness. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a pastor who defied a regime of terror, saw something chilling in the rise of the Nazis. It wasn't just the cruelty that built their power. It was the countless souls who looked away, unwilling to confront the jagged edges of reality. This wasn't about a lack of intellect or schooling, he argued. Stupidity, to him, was a moral collapse, a deliberate shutting of the eyes when the world begged for someone to bear witness. Imagine a village where smoke rises from chimneys that no one dares question. The air grows thick with unspoken dread, yet people carry on, pretending the shadows aren't lengthening around them. Bonhoeffer watched this unfold, not as a distant observer, but as someone who knew the faces turning away. Friends, neighbors, strangers all, bound by a shared refusal to ask what lay beneath the surface of their comfortable lives. Evil doesn't always roar, he wrote from his cell. It whispers, slipping into the cracks of a society too proud or too scared to challenge its own reflection. This kind of stupidity isn't a solitary sin, it spreads like a fog over a city. One person's choice to retreat from truth ripples outward, dimming the light for everyone until no one remembers how to see. He called it a betrayal of what it means to be human. To live fully, he believed, is to plunge into the raw, messy depths of existence, not to float above them on a raft of easy lies. Faith sharpened his lens, giving him a view that pierced through the haze. Sin wasn't just breaking commandments. Sin was shrugging off the weight of our shared humanity. Letting stupidity lighten a burden we're meant to carry. Think of a leader who justifies suffering with a wave of the hand. Institutions, too, can grow blind, dragging entire nations into a moral abyss, when power drowns out the cries below. Bonhoeffer's words sting because they don't stay locked in 1940s Germany. Today, we see echoes of this blindness in the apathy that shrugs at injustice, in the excuses we craft to sidestep the thorns of truth. Facts alone can't shatter this fog, he insisted. It's not a riddle to solve with more books, it's a wound in the spirit, a refusal to wake up to the duty pulsing within us. Freedom, he tied to this, is a double-edged gift. When we misuse it, hiding from responsibility, we plant the seeds of a stupidity that chokes out justice. Picture a single choice: to speak when silence feels safer. That moment ripples, either pulling others toward courage or letting the shadow creep further across the collective soul. He saw it firsthand: good people doing nothing, not out of laziness, but out of a willful choice to stay numb. Evil thrives in that stillness, feeding on the moral laziness we dress up as neutrality. This hits harder when you realize he wasn't just pointing at the Nazis. He was holding a mirror to every society, every heart, daring us to ask what we're choosing to ignore. In his letters, smuggled from prison, he wrestled with a haunting idea. Evil isn't always the monster we expect. It's often the quiet complicity of those who'd rather not know. Reason can't pierce this veil alone. Take something deeper, a trembling awakening. It's the soul stirring, the heart cracking open to the pain we've trained ourselves to unsee. Bonhoeffer's defiance wasn't loud, he didn't need it to be. Facing a gallows, he urged us to reject this retreat, to choose the weight of responsibility over the lightness of denial. Humanity, he believed, dances on a knife's edge between good and evil. Stupidity tips the scale, not through malice, but through the slow drip of indifference we let cloud our vision. It's not about being the smartest in the room, he'd say if he were here. It's about being awake to the ache of others, awake to the call of what's right, awake to our own quiet power. His life ended in a noose, but his voice refuses to fade. It echoes through decades, a challenge to look at ourselves and ask, are we brave enough to see what's really there? This isn't a dusty history lesson, it's a living warning. Stupidity isn't trapped in the past. It's a shadow we all risk stepping into when we let pride or fear close our eyes. He left us with a choice, stark and unrelenting. We can drift in the haze of denial, or we can rise, embracing truth with a courage that reclaims what it means to be human. Every day, we turn from the world's wounds. We hand stupidity a quiet victory. Every day we face them, we weave a thread of moral courage into the fabric of who we are. His words pull us back from the edge like a hand reaching through time. They remind us that truth isn't a luxury, it's the pulse of a life worth living, beating against the tide of apathy. Bonhoeffer didn't offer a neat solution, and maybe that's the point. He gave us a spark, a dare to live boldly, to resist the pull of blindness, to carry our humanity with trembling hands. In a world that often looks away, his voice cuts through the noise. It asks us to stand, to see, to act not because it's easy, but because it's the only way to keep the light alive. What if the stupidity he warned of isn't just out there, but within us, waiting for the moment we decide to wake up? How will you answer when the mirror turns to you?